Hey, big guy, you look like an intelligent person. But are you crapping out at the COVID casino? Are you strolling around the tables looking at all the big winners and looking at yourself and saying, I want to be a player with a room to myself in the high roller suite? Or are you just another loser to a novel coronavirus, forced to wear a mask, unemployed, staying at home with your favorite activities placed on hold indefinitely? Then grab another Corona and listen up. Cervezas for all my amigos, right? Everyone with just a bit of a sense of adventure loves a game of chance. What better place than Vegas? But I grew up in the predominantly Roman Catholic town where no matter what denomination you preferred, everyone ate fish on Fridays. There were no shortage of bingo games weekly, and no day at Jesuit high school ever began without a 50-50 to raise money for some cause. But in our junior year in Jesuit high school, we had a very irreverent and unconventional priest named Father Harry, who decided to engage in an experiment to test our intelligence and our faith, perhaps. And one day he walked into a religion class to tell everyone that the night before a most amazing and astonishing event had occurred to him. On an order of the novel coronavirus discussed in our last video that had defied the largest odds to even come into existence in a form harmful to man, he had spoken to the Lord God Almighty himself, which even for the adolescent boys seemed a bit beyond the normal, even when they were being told that fact by a priest. But he had certainly succeeded in the first step of good salesmanship for peddling illicit quantities of God, capturing our undivided attention, interest, decision, and action. And after succeeding in luring us into the showroom, he decided to bait the line with an offer we simply could not refuse, at least to capture our interest. But especially in politics, if you're ever invited to a poker game and don't know who the sucker is. Well, Father Harry said that the Lord had delivered unto him a great message to use for ourselves and to share with others. And we stood there in the class with expectant ear, or at least my classmates did. And the Lord, at least, as we were told by Father Harry, had told him the winning numbers for the New Jersey lottery. And to win it, you have to be in it. An interesting lesson of contemporary value for those estranged from places of worship in pandemic, and even those described as nuns who have simply chosen to deny the finite nature of existence, not to engage in an inquiry upon one of life's existential questions, the great existential questions, the great, fantastic existential questions at all. Perhaps finding such big thoughts simply too daunting or unfamiliar with the incredible proposition in Cartesian logic that have been posited by the mathematician Pascal during the age of enlightenment and reason. But the very experience of Father Harry and his conversation with the Lord, no matter how outrageous, began to spread like wildfire throughout the entire school. This man of faith certainly knew at least a little bit about creating a little hype, and everyone from freshman to senior began to make their way to the many convenience stores and delicatessens and even liquor stores that were located in close proximity to the school. News started to even spread around the neighborhood, and it was certainly a great day for the faith, in some sense, because many of the residents in the neighboring communities began to line up at stores, creating crowds on streets to claim a prize in glory, at least upon a great hope that perhaps there was actually something worth listening to from a crazy priest. Some kept God's message to Father Harry in their heads and could recite verbatim the numerical combination as they arrived at the front of the line. And some even had taken the deliberate time to write the numbers down on pieces of paper, just to make certain that they did not miss their great chance for great fortune in the here and now. And Father Harry just peered out from above upon the street below from the window of his classroom all day long with a smile of smug satisfaction on his face at the great stare of activity that he had set off. But while I lack a first-hand witness to verify Father Harry's miraculous conversation with God, and may only report from hearsay exactly what had occurred within that class, I can attest that something indeed did occur within that neighborhood, having witnessed the flurry of activity and having been moved by the fervor of the moment myself to have actually taken part myself. But by a simple function of probability and past experience, sums, had confirmed, even as I handed my lunch money to the clerk at the liquor store, yes, the liquor store, to purchase my ticket, at no time did I ever expect to wake up the next morning a millionaire, and was far more surprised to bear witness with the local residents within that neighborhood, but for which the occasion of a lottery ticket purchase in a daily classroom routine I would probably never have met. And I was somberly amazed by those who were standing on that line under the assured belief that finally their ship had come in. And I could only wonder if they had ever considered the very concept of probability derived from past experiences is probably one of the best predictors that man has yet developed in science to prognosticate about the future. And believe it or not, well, Dr. Fauci notwithstanding, of course, and believe it or not, to determine how even viruses spread, they actually rely upon the law of large numbers in science. And by looking at percentages obtained through repeating a random exercise for a sufficient number of times, they start to observe patterns along what they describe as a normalized random distribution curve. And would you believe that as soon as it became apparent that a pneumonia of unknown etiology had suddenly emerged in the largest city in the central mainland of China that has over 1 billion citizens in the entire country, they wanted to find out where it was going to spread next, or proliferate, as they say. So they took a list of the top 15 domestic destinations and the top 15 international destinations from the Wuhan airport with the assumption that a simple virus that could not think by itself, could not choose its itinerary, and would, even if evading the lockdown, simply acquire a human host by dumb luck. And under the law of large numbers, what should have occurred, based on mathematics, with all things being equal, is that wherever the most people were going, the virus would logically follow. But that novel coronavirus, you know what it did? Apparently, it had its own winning game plan and actually defied the statistics, landing at the 17th most popular destination, which only happened to be the worst enemy of the People's Republic of China. Coincidence? Apparently, Dr. Mohammed Norman, or the Norm Oliver, the state health commissioner for the Commonwealth of Virginia, who obtained his baccalaureate degree from a self-accrediting college that did not even require a college entrance exam, did not consider that a significant event, nor even the sudden emergence of a virus harmful to man arising anywhere, defying all known probability, did not appear to him to be a departure from the norm, even as he had begun to monitor the development of the virus on February 7th. And he is not alone, because a full report of this variant migration was presented in an intelligence estimate to Senator Mark Warner, who sits on the Intelligence Committee, who even holds a law degree from the distinguished Harvard Law School in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, but has never actually practiced law. But around the same time that not even the nation's only physician serving as a state governor, Ralph Northam, failed to see, simply based upon probability, anything other than the norm, even scientists looking back at the emergence of the pneumonia of unknown etiology in China, that even the Wall Street Journal had described on January 28th as measuring the size of 9 entire football fields in a single or multiple zoonotic evolution, possibly from animals sold in the market, found it significant, scientifically enough, that only 27 persons, primarily members of the same families, appear to have a connection to the market, only by nature of their employment there, as merchants of their products and wares, while 11, a significant part of that small sample size, had absolutely no connection at all, which set in motion a series of other observations, such as the fact that despite the sales of many exotic animals, there were no bats at all even sold in the wet market, began to destroy the early wide speculation circulated in the press that the virus outbreak had its beginning at that location at all. A fact that the Chinese Communist Party, finally defying the eroding probabilities that their early statements could possibly be correct, did not concede the origins of the outbreak as having occurred at some other location until the end of May. Months had passed when they became one of the first to blame the explosion of COVID-19 upon super spreader events, a popular theory even currently endorsed by the illustrious Dr. Fauci, an intriguing theory to test under the laws of probability at some other time. Now grab a lab coat, a thermometer, a stethoscope, another Corona, because we are only at the beginning of the road to the novel coronavirus jackpot that will have you up in the high roller suite before you can say lucky strikes. Are you ready? Are you set? Let's go. Scientists have what they call a scientific method that has been tested for years and years and years and years and years, hundreds of years. And it is a systematic approach to observing novel phenomena. That's a scientist word for mysterious stuff. And through rigorous examination, collection of evidence, employing time-tested and validated protocols and procedures, they're actually able to figure out a lot of stuff through analysis, kind of like Sherlock Holmes stuff. They can see stuff that others can't because they know how to examine it like a scientist. Remember Galileo, who grabbed a telescope and found rings around Saturn? Even the folks at the Vatican said, there are no rings around Saturn, Galileo. And Galileo said, but you just need to take a look to this telescope. And do you know what they did? They refused and hauled him off to the Inquisition to consider the science of coercive interrogation. And as a scientist, Galileo knew the science of that. I figure he calculated that he'd have no better luck than picking a fight with a security guard who got angry about a gambler breaking too many casinos. My name is Major Mike Webb, and by God, I am running for governor of Virginia. I ask every Christian, every conservative, every Republican, every Democrat, every liberal, every conservative, and every Virginian and American true to like the motto of the imagery. Follow me and we shall overcome. Honest. And y'all come back now. Yeah.
You are a leader, won't you show me the way? 'Cause I am a seeker and you are a keeper. You are a leader.
This advertisement was authorized by Mike Webb.
You are a leader, won't you show